Welcome back, and today we're gonna take a quick look at the Hornet dev blog. 4 of them have been announced. We have the F-18A, the F-18C for Sweden, the F-18C late, as well as the pre-order F-18C early. Now, the early is a little bit controversial, because they decided to make it even more expensive than the last premiums, even though it's the same tier. It's €80. We are looking at another €5 increase, which was really not necessary in my opinion. 75 is already a lot of money. It's the same tier. And on top of it, they also have 3 of these and likely more in the future in the tech trees. Meaning that they already make money on the F-18 despite it not being a premium. So I don't think they need to ask more money of this one. I know it's going to sell regardless. I know that people have been waiting for this plane since forever. But I don't think they can actually justify it. Now, can we really do anything about it? Not really. People are gonna buy it anyway. And I will, of course, review it regardless. But, you know, the prices are getting a little bit ridiculous. I'm waiting for the $120 F-35C with the VTOL maneuvering, whatever, in the future. But for now, let's take a quick look at it. Now, they say outstanding maneuverability, which is correct. Large selection of weapon. New air-to-air missiles, a little bit, not really, it's an AIM-7P, but we'll get into that in a second. And of course they are multi-role. Now the history, if you want to read it, it is going to be on the screen. I'm not going to be covering that, as I don't think it's really that important for a video like this, as it's already going to be way too long anyway. And I want to take a look first at the F-18A. Now the F-18A gets the AIM-9Ls and the AIM-7Fs. Now this is what I talked about yesterday, sorry, AIM-7M as well. And that's okay. It's probably going to be a lower BR. I'm looking at probably 12.7. Now, I do hope that these don't go to 13.0 and get sucked into the Eurofighter and the Ravioli matchmaker, because it is not going to be able to hang up there. But it's also better than something like the F4S, of course. So we cannot make this thing 12.3. But we also can't really make it 13.0, and I'm expecting it to be 12.7 simply because they don't want to destroy this plane in the very first batch. They might move it up later if it performs too well, but keep in mind, they are relatively slow, they don't accelerate that well, and they are very maneuverable, but they should be, you know, boom and zoomed relatively easily. Now, especially with weapons like this, the AIM-7s can be rolled, and the AIM-9Ls are relatively easy to flare, so this is just an absolutely roided up, on growth hormone F-20, on F-5E I guess, is just going to be better in every regard. So I'm personally probably going to be flying this one the most. However, it's going to depend on the matchmaker, because a lot of people are going to be playing this plane, and it might not actually be that fun when your entire team consists out of Hornets. Then we have the F-18C late, which is essentially the same thing. However, we get AIM-7Ps. They have inertial guidance, so keep in mind it's going to be a little bit like the R-27ER, where you can unlock and then relock, and it's going to just kind of fly over there. Keep in mind that last second you still have to lock them up. It is still a semi-active. It is not going to guide itself to the target if it's maneuvering whatsoever. So you do need to update it at the very end of the travel time, but it decreases the amount of time the enemy gets a hard lock, and they might think it's a new missile and therefore not notch it or dodge it in time. It gets an HMD, it gets some ground ordnance, GBU 38, 32, as well as the 31, as you can see. And then it gets the AIM-120B. And these are, as I get this question a lot, these are essentially AIM-120As. They are the expert model. There's really no difference there. Maybe the B is also for naval planes. I am not entirely sure. But they are the same missiles in War Thunder. And you shouldn't expect any difference in between them. Now, we have some skins. I like this. I like the red. It's going to go well with the wingtip. The pre-order pack also has the camouflage. And it's this. Also looks pretty neat. This is probably one of my favorite ones. I like the grey with the slightly more grey and some black and grey on the front. It's very dynamic and different. And the that's actually not too bad. I kind of like that. I wouldn't put it on my plane personally, but I don't think it's a bad decal. Then we have the F-18C for Sweden. It's basically the other F-18C. except it doesn't actually get much ground ordnance. Now, if we are lucky, or not lucky, in ground LB this might be a pretty low BR, because guess what? It doesn't actually have ground ordnance, which means that the BR is probably going to be a little bit lower in tank LB, meaning that this thing might be an absolute menace when it comes to keeping the skies clear, but we'll have to see. Of course, the Swedish tank lineup is already pretty good. Having a plane like this in there doesn't really impact the ground performance all too much, but it might help with keeping the skies clear, but it doesn't really need that as it already has the Gripen, which, you know, is already good enough at that job. But yeah, that's basically it. We are looking at slow planes with decent excel, good maneuverability. I wonder how the speed bleed is going to be. Now, when we look at the airframe and the wings, it should actually have pretty decent retention. But of course, time will tell. Gaijin is known to be a little bit ambitious with the flight models, let's put it that way. So we'll just have to see. Keep in mind, the Vulcan doesn't have the most amount of ammo. It's more than the F-16. It's less than an F-15. It's like 580 rounds. And the gun, at least in real life, is angled up a little bit. So I wonder if they're going to actually model that. I'm not going to be a big fan of it. We already know that with high AOA machines, the desync can be kind of wild, where the gun goes up like 20 degrees from where it's actually pointing. This one does that actually by default. And then we also have desync on top of it, because this is an AOA monster. So I am kind of curious to see how this goes. I'm a big fan of the Hornets. I'm gonna prefer these over the F-18E. That will probably come in the future. But personally, I'm actually the biggest fan of the more analog ones. So AIM-7Ps, AIM-7Ms, AIM-9Ls. I think it's just better for gameplay opposed to sitting at max range and slinging 2 billion AIM-120s across the map. But you know, to each their own. There's probably going to be a dev stream later today. I'm not going to be able to stream that, at least not today. I might be able to get on tomorrow. If I do get on the dev stream, on the dev server, I will make sure to pull you all along. I'll do some testing and I'll show you guys all of that on the live on my YouTube. But I can't really promise you anything, and I'm not sure if I'm going to have the energy tomorrow to sit to a 2-hour plus dev stream. But probably, I'm just not gonna confirm it just yet. Thank you all for watching. Have fun on the dev server, which is probably gonna drop today. And I will see you all either tomorrow or the start of next week.